your boy. I ain't scared of you, mother.
Zone, on the road to the Super Bowl. Every game on the schedule crucial, it take a toll. It don't matter if we at home or on the road. You try to tackle, I'll truck a sucker and take it soul. I'm staring at 4th and goal, gotta find an open hole. A linebacker just close a hole where I'm supposed to go. So now I'm thinking my centers are all pro, so I trust he can make a walk for wherever the ball go. Yeah, there's 5 seconds on the play clock. The crowd was loud, but they stopped. Now it's silent while they watch. They stand off in the red zone. All I see is red home. Watch me get this touchdown and this W and head home.
Let's effing go, Cowboys Nation. Welcome into Game Day Live, Super Wild Card Weekend. Cowboys, Bucs, Jesse Holley, Skywalker Steel. What's good, baby? You ready? I'm ready. I'm excited. I got my boy Voch in the building. Shout out to Voch Love Party. Woo! I'm excited if y'all can't tell, man. Cowboys, Bucs coming up in an hour, and we're going to have everything for you that you need to know. It's finally, I gotta do this one. Finally. I said, finally, the playoffs have come back to Texas Live.
Yeah.
And I'm ready, baby. Stay tuned. I got another WWF, WWE wrestling little thing for you later on. But, man, we're going to have everything covered for you. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. I hope Cowboys Nation is excited. It starts tonight, man. The Cowboys have, I think, a perfect platter in front of them. They just have to get through it, right? You have a chance to beat Tom Brady tonight, right? Then if that happens, you have a chance to revenge or avenge yourself in San Fran. Then possibly you could be hosting the playoff game here in Dallas, or you have a chance to beat your hated rivals. It's all set up for the Cowboys, but it starts tonight. Jesse, are you ready?
Oh, absolutely. This is the culmination of this whole thing, right? We've gone through OTAs and mini camps. We've gone through training camp. We've gone through the ups and downs, the peaks and valleys of the season, and it's gotten us to this point. And, you know, when you're talking about a football team, your football team, the Dallas Cowboys, you couldn't ask for a better matchup than being on Monday Night Football. When I was playing, we would always say, this is the game where your mama watching. My mama watching.
Everybody watching.
Everybody is watching this game. This is prime setup. If you're talking about being America's team, right? If you're talking about being the greatest team on the face of this earth, this is the prime time moment that you've been waiting for right now to showcase your talent, to showcase your truth of who you really are in front of the world. There's no other game happening tonight. There's nothing else going on. The NBA games are done today. You know, folks that got off work, those who had to work. A lot of people been
right.
off all day. Shout out to Martin Luther King. But this is the moment that you have been waiting for. The time is now for you to show up and show out and to really put a mark and a stamp on who you really are.
And before we get into everything, X's and O's, Y's, and whatnot, I said this earlier in the week, and I want to just start off here, and then we'll get to the inactives. For two people, the how doesn't matter today. It's the results, and that's Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. We all season, right? We're like, hey, man, it didn't quite look like this. It didn't quite look like that. I'd rather people bicker and argue about how the W looked tonight, than talk about why there wasn't one today, Jesse. I don't care how it gets done. It's playoff time now, and it may be ugly, then it's ugly. If you watch the league, right, if you watch this weekend, there was only one blowout. And even in that blowout, that game was pretty close until it wasn't anymore. So it's going to get ugly. It's going to get muddy. There's going to be adversity in this game. But for Dak and for Mike McCarthy, it's just about getting the damn job done.
Absolutely. Like all season long, we can nitpick those games because we're looking for some level of consistency, some level of, all right, let's put this thing together. When you get into the playoffs, it's win or go home.
Yep.
So however you do it, by hook or by crook, whether it looks good or looks ugly or whatever it may be, the only result is a W. That's all you care about. And then you move on to the next week. You don't even have time to even focus on,
what you did wrong in that game, yeah.
Hey, we're moving on. We're going on to the next round, and that team is going home. So, yeah, when you get to the playoffs, you have absolutely zero care about how you get the victory.
Right.
All you care about is we got the victory, and we're moving on to the next round. That's absolutely it.
Well, let's talk about who may be here, who will be active tonight in this game and trying to help the Cowboys get a victory. Who's going to be inactive, actually, we're going to talk about here. Trayvon Mullen, Nashawn Wright, want to run that back. Will Grier, Jalen Tolbert, Jabril Cox. Neville Gallimore and Quentin Bohanna also interesting because you would think you would want at least one of those dudes, but both inactive. So with Mullen and Nashawn Wright inactive, that sounds like to me they're going to be going with the veteran Xavier Rhodes starting at cornerback too. What's your thoughts on that first before I get into the rest of it?
There's always a level of pedigree when you talk about a guy who was a former first rounder, former, all-pro type of corner, a little bit longer in the tooth now in his career, but the experience is what he has. That's the part when you get into these moments in these games is guys sometimes can have deer in the headlight type moments. You get into the experience of the playoff, Monday Night Football playoff game against Tom Brady. You have these moments where it kind of gets away from you. And I think with Xavier Rhodes, one of the things that you get with him is you get that calmness of a guy who's a veteran, who's kind of been around the block a few times and understands, the level and the brevity of the moment.
He's played in big playoff games.
Big playoffs games. And so, the best thing now is you hope that the communication is there. And that the skill set is there for Xavier Rhodes because without a shadow of a doubt, you, I, and everyone else knows Tom Brady's going to eventually look over there and see him standing out there and go, yep, we're going to attack him and see if he's ready to go. If they got the communication there, if they got all the things that they need to get him right before we go attack, Trayvon Diggs, we're going to attack Xavier Rhodes first.
I would love for Xavier Rhodes to literally be what T.Y. has been for the Cowboys. I thought Xavier Rhodes had that chance to be that off the field. And I think T.Y. has done the mental things, helping these young guys in that room. I listened to him talk, and he talked about how he could help these guys see things differently, talk about what receivers like to do, what quarterbacks like to do in down and distance situations. And I thought, I'm like, there's nobody in the room that can say that. Even Trayvon Diggs is still learning the position, and he's your most tenured season best cornerback. Same thing happened with the receiver room. There's no one in that room that could tell CeeDee Lamb, hey, man, maybe on 3rd and 8, keep going and then come back down because it's easier to come back down and get up. And then you saw him score a touchdown that way. Now Xavier Rhodes going to have to play. So I'm hoping T.Y. made a great debut. 4th and 8, got the penalty. 3rd and 50, got 52. right? I'm hoping Xavier Rhodes. I don't need Xavier Rhodes to get 2 interceptions, 3 like Asante Samuel Jr.
That would be great.
By the way, Asante Samuel Jr., but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
I just need him to make a play or two that helps change this game like T.Y. Hilton did. So it'd be awesome if he can be what T.Y. has been for this Cowboys team, if we can kind of compare those two.
No, I agree with you 100%. I don't need you to be a superhero. I just need you to be where you're supposed to be, tackle the football, make plays if they come your way. And if you give us something extra than that, then absolutely fantastic, right? If you get an interception, if you get a fumble recovery, if you make someone fumble, you get a pass breakup on a key third down in the game, absolutely fantastic. But for the most part, you just you want a guy like Xavier Rhodes who's a new addition to this defense just to be, for me, technically sound and formationally sound. Line up where you're supposed to be in the lineup at. Be able to communicate when things change, right? Because you're going to get some audibles that happen in this game. Tom is the master of that, of checking the check. Yeah. You have to be able to be ready to now get those checks, hear the communication, and be able to work at it on the field.
It is going to be a cat and mouse game between Tom Brady, but Xavier Rhodes is going to get some help. LVE is coming back, and Jonathan Hankins has also been activated from IR. And getting those two is huge, especially when you talk about communication and you talk about, Tom Brady doing all the checking. You could tell that not having LVE in, you saw Damone Clark, who's a rookie, by the way, trying to figure things out. Anthony Barr, listen, as much as Anthony Barr is a veteran, I don't think they want Anthony Barr to run their defense.
Right.
And so you saw them two kind of get into miscommunication here and there. Getting LV back is huge, and then he's going to have big Jonathan Hankins in front of him to hopefully keep him clean is huge. How you feel about LVE and Hankins getting back here?
Yeah, for I think the thing that Leighton Vander Esch brings is stability. Yeah. Right? He kind of calms the defense down. He's able to be the green dot. He's able to make the calls. He's able to make the adjustments for this defense and then give, players an opportunity to be in the position that they're supposed to be in. Because when you have a guy that's out, now the backup becomes the starter, and now his backup becomes the second-string guy, and now you got to move guys around. And sometimes playing guys from multiple steps out of position kind of hurts your defense, not as an overall at times, but it's those 1 or 2 or 3 plays where you kind of needed that communication to be there. And you talk about those crossing routes. I watched every single football game this weekend, and I can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to be running some shallow crosses, some things across. So I want to be able to have that linebacker in the middle that says in, pass, right, and have that communication across the board. And then for a guy like Damone Clark, you want him to think less and play more. When you add Leighton Vander Esch to the mix, it allows him to think less and play more. It allows guys up front to go, all right, where am I supposed to be? And Leighton gets those guys lined up. So having him in here, the physical part of it, we can debate that back and forth for what he is as a physical player. The mental part of it from that position is probably the most key and the most thing that this defense needs in the second level of that defense.
Let's stay along the lines of the communication and mental, but on the other side of the ball, Tyler Biadasz is back from his high ankle sprain to bring some stability on that offensive line. That's kind of where I want to start off with this pregame show, by the way, presented by Underdog Fantasy. Stick around. You know it's the playoffs. You know it's Super Wild Card Weekend.
I peeked at it. I peeked at it earlier. You're feeling yourself.
Oh yes, I am. I got a fiver. So make sure y'all stick around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so stick around for that. Tyler Biadasz getting back on this line, right? Going this whole entire week, I thought with Biadasz back, they're going to go back to the normal offensive line they were rolling with Tyron Smith, but a little swerve, a little bit of a swerve, according to Babe Laufenberg. The Cowboys' starting offensive line will be this, with Tyler Biadasz back at center, which is a big deal. I'm going to talk about that. Jason Peters, left tackle. Tyler Smith, left guard. And then Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, with McGovern being the swing guy and Avion Collins being called up, likely to be your backup swing tackle. Okay, a little interesting there. I don't hate it because I like to see Tyler Smith play some left guard. I think he can do a little bit more movement, and he can handle that power a bit better than McGovern can because they're going to deal with some power with Vita Vea. That's what we call him on another show. But Vita Vea, right? Tyler Biadasz, having him back in that middle to stabilize that offensive line and deal with the communication. I've heard multiple different people say a variation of this, but Dak didn't look as comfortable without Tyler Biadasz there helping with the calls and whatnot, because it seemed like Dak almost had to take along that responsibility as well as just running the offense in general. So you could see him be a bit more comfortable in that pocket with Tyler Biadasz back in the middle.
No, it's the same thing. It's a guy who stabilizes that position. You talked about it last week in the pregame show when we had to go 3 for 1, right? One guy comes out, now I got to rotate 3 other guys to get them back in position. When you put them back in there, kind of get guys back to their natural positions where they kind of play more comfortably.
Right.
And then understand this. And I'm kind of thinking now why this switch was made, because for Dak Prescott, he like Tom Brady, you want the middle of that pocket to be a little bit more protected. So now let's go with a little bit more strength and size inside with Tyler Biadasz. Let's say, hey, Zach Martin's to your right, Tyler Smith to your left, so that is a little bit more beef in there with strength, being able to hold guys down like Vita Vea, like Akeem Hicks. So they're going to try to collapse that pocket on Dak Prescott. They're going to test that ankle out. But again, the communication part is being able to line up and have that center pointing around and saying, hey, here's that guy, here's this guy. We're moving this way, we're moving that way, and everybody be on one accord when the ball is snapped. So having Tyler Biadasz back in that spot definitely solidifies that, definitely calms the noise, and it makes Dak Prescott a little bit more comfortable to know that the guy calling the shots up front, they have seen eye to eye all year long, so that comfortability is there.
And I think something that has not been talked about. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Are you moving on from offensive line?
I'm still on it.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. The interior, they have a great interior with Hicks and Golston and Vita Vea. But the guy that caused the most trouble in week 1, that I don't know why it's not being talked about, who was out, is Shaq Barrett.
Yeah.
If people remember, Shaq Barrett is the one who had about 3 or 4 pressures against the Cowboys in week 1. He's the one who caused Dak Prescott to break his thumb. He's the one who, really, if he didn't get the pressure up the middle and just bowled over Tony Pollard, it was a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, but Dak couldn't step up into his throw. Shaq Barrett was a menace against, at that point in time, debuting of Tyler Smith at left tackle. No Shaq Barrett. Their guys are more heavier pass rushers on the defensive end. As Joe Tryon can rush it, but he ain't Shaq Barrett, right? So if you can get some stability in that middle, and now you got these 2 future Hall of Famers who, I get it, they aren't who they were, but trustworthy. Can you trust them? I think Dak trusts them regardless if they're going to play that way or not. Then now we're talking about attacking a different level of the defense in the passing game. But before I move on to that, go ahead.
And there's the one small little nuance of getting your center back in play that I want people to realize and understand that they may miss. There are simple things as far as the snap count, how the ball gets back to the quarterback. Because now if the snap is a little bit slow, then me getting back to the running back is slow. And I think the most important thing when you looked at what this team has been as far as the running game is, it's your dual blocks, getting up to that second level. Now when you got Tyler Biadasz back in there, the snap comes faster. Those 2 guys are more in sync, Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, with Tyler Biadasz being able to now move up to the second level to get guys like Levante Davis, like Devin White, because those 2 guys are see ball, run, and get ball type of players. So those small things like that before may have been a kind of a glitch in the step, which now gives the linebacker an advantage, we hopefully will now be eliminated, because now Biadasz understands now, get the ball where I have to get to up in the next level, being able to sustain those blocks a little bit longer than McGovern did, what's going to give Dak Prescott that half a second, that half an inch, a little bit more to step up in that throw, or for that running back now to find that gap without those seams and guys busting through.
You brought up those linebackers for the Buccaneers, Devin White and Levante David. 2 of the best tandem, one of the best tandems in the National Football League. They gave the Cowboys trouble in week 1. Kellen Moore actually talked about those linebackers. I want to bring that up here so you guys can take a listen and just the challenges of dealing with them and Todd Bowles in general.
Yeah, just jumping into that, they're a really talented defense, a veteran defense. So certainly there's a lot of stuff that they've hung their hat on for a long time down there, and they've done a tremendous job. The linebackers are the combination are as good in the league as you're going to find. The front certainly is big, stout, creates pressure. The back end does a really good job of playing vision on the quarterback and seeing coverages and pattern matching. And so, we've played these guys a few times now, and they're really, really talented.
And that's the linebacker.
I just want to stick to that real quick because he talked about those backers, and I was doing a little bit of research, and those guys are they're great. Like Levante David can do a lot for you, and Devin White can rush the passer. They blitz a whole lot with them. In fact, without Shaq Barrett, they're blitzing even more because that's how they're generating their pass rush. But they can be attacked, and they can be attacked at that second level with these tight ends. And I'm wondering, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear this because they're like, oh, Dak always throws to the tight ends. But sometimes you got to attack, what the weakness is of the other team. And I looked over throughout the season. They're giving up over 111.5 quarterback rating when targeted to tight ends, 800 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Listen, I know we still have to use, and we'll get to the other weapons, but I wonder if this could be a Dalton Schultz game here, a Jake Ferguson game. Do you get those guys isolated? Or the other part of their defense that has been a question mark is Winfield Jr. Listen, he's a fine player, really good player, really good safety. But they've been using him at nickel corner this year, which means if C.D. Lamb is lined up in the slot like we hope he is used, right? Not saying exclusively, but that's where he's had some success. He's given up over 103 quarterback rating when targeted. So C.D. Lamb, Winfield, or these linebackers against the Cowboys tight ends, which matchup do you think the Cowboys should target the most? Or
I think that one, if CeeDee Lamb at the end of this game doesn't have 12 targets for 9 catches, whatever it is, and I think then you better tell me the running game has 300 yards rushing.
Right.
Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't have 12 targets and 9 catches plus, then I think you did yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
100%. But like Tom Brady, I think getting those tight involves and those quick passes, to me, are extended handoffs. It keeps you ahead of the chains. It keeps you moving in the direction that you want to go. I think it's an absolute perfect game plan. Get those guys involved. Make easy passes for Dak Prescott. Again, I talked about the term that I used before for Dak Prescott is don't step over dollars. Don't step over pennies for dollars. Like, take profit. And if you have an opportunity to go ahead and get profit right in front of your face with the tight ends, either side of the ball, and now make those guys, Levante David and Devin White, now think just a little bit. That's now going to help you in the run game. That's now going to help you to get the ball down the field a little bit more when you want to, because those guys have to now account for those tight ends. But if you don't get the tight ends involved in this football game and they become an afterthought, now these guys have an opportunity to run sideline to sideline with with having to not to respect those guys.
Or dropping their hooks without thinking about it.
Or thinking about those guys. And now they create those windows that you have to throw into where we've known Dak. I've struggled at time with throwing into into those tight windows.
He'll throw it there, but that doesn't mean it's open.
Get to the guys he's supposed to get to. So I love that plan. 100%. Get Schultz, get Ferguson, get Hendershot involved, and then now that again, when those guys have to account for them, hey, there's a back right over there. Check it down to him. Allow your athletes to get the ball in space and allow them to matriculate down the field.
And let me throw one more in there that needs to attack these these linebackers. Tony Pollard. Last year, the frustrating part about the San Francisco wildcard game was that you did not deliberately go to your playmakers throughout that entire game, right? There was too much, and at that point, Dalton Schultz he had a great year, but you still had, C.D. Lamb, you still had TP, you still had Mark Cooper. Those should have been your big three. You could argue Dalton Schultz should be a part of that this year, fine. But this game, C.D. Lamb and Tony Pollard shouldn't be begging for touches.
Yes.
In week 1, Jesse, this stat was astonishing after the game when I was researching it earlier in the season. Tony Pollard had 14 blocking attempts, meaning he was kept in to block 14 times. And he got whooped in that game. He gave up, I think, a sack or 2. He was getting bowled over. He was trying. He was out there fighting. All my life I had to fight. He really was. And this was crazy because throughout the offseason, I'm like, hey, man, it's good film with TP blocking. Man, he got whooped. Okay, that should not happen in this game. It is as hard as he tries in the blocking department. I don't want to see Tony Pollard and Devin White 7 times. No. I want to see Tony Pollard and Devin White out wide. Right. I want to see Tony Pollard and Devin White trying to cover him in space. They need to attack these guys with their space players. C.D. Lamb, Tony Pollard. You can either include Jake Ferguson, right? He's a good space player. T.Y. Hilton is a good space player. The game plan in week 1 was atrocious. Let's just be completely honest there. It was absolutely atrocious. He should never be kept in 14 times, Jesse. Even if he's not going to run 14 times, he should at least get 7 or 8 targets today.
Well, and to compound that, you look at he had to block 14 times, and I think he only touched the ball that game in total of 8 times. I think he had like 2 catches and he had like 6 rushes. So, you misuse him in the sense that you had him blocking Levante David and Devin White, and then you said we didn't even give him the ball to allow him to kind of even get his lick back in space against those guys. So it was a bad game plan for Tony Pollard in that game all around.
They gave Tony Pollard annexation to Puerto Rico play, and then the Wildcat. Seriously, those were 2 of his 8 touches or whatever it was in that game. Vach says this a lot. I don't need you to get cute with Tony Pollard, bro. He's not. This isn't a gadget guy. This isn't Kevontae Turpin. Tony Pollard can tote the rock. Tony Pollard can catch the ball. Feature him in that way. And I truly do believe that if without a Shaq Barrett, I think this is huge. Without a Shaq Barrett, and a lot of people may not want to hear this because playoff football, you got to run the ball, and I'm all about running it, and I'm all about being efficient running it. But don't be stubborn. Don't run at Golston and at Hicks and at Vita Vea.
And please don't do it on first down.
Don't do it all. Oh, my gosh. They lead the league on first and second down runs. You can run the ball via pass. What are you talking about, Sky? It doesn't make sense. Yes, it does. Just dump the ball out to Tony Pollard. Get it a quick screen, a tunnel screen, something fast to put in his hand. 21 personnel, orbit motion. The Packers do this all the time. They'll bring in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. There's no excuse not to bring it with TP. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, 21 personnel, play action, and just dump it off to one of those dudes. Because that's their extension of the run game. So I really don't want to hear any excuse today of not involving Tony Pollard and C.D. Lamb 25, 27 times in this game, Jesse.
No, I mean, if you want the perfect example, look across the field. That's exactly what Tampa Bay did. I mean, granted, after they played the Cowboys, they couldn't get the run game going at all. So you know what they said? Hey, we're just going to pass the ball, short passes, 5 here, 4 here, because they're saying that's an extended handoff, tunnel screens, bubble screens, throw it right over the center, right over the goal center, because everybody got hurt on the line of scrimmage. They didn't have the ability to run the football anymore, so they just said, let's stop banging our head against the wall and let's get the ball to our guys in space in these short passes, and which kind of led to Tom Brady having the most completions he ever had in the season, also the most attempts he's ever had in the season, because they were using that form of Leonard Fournette. They were using other guys of saying, hey, we're not going to line you up 7 yards back here and just hand you the ball. We're going to just have you get on routes and dump the ball to you to allow you to be able to matriculate up the field.
And Dan Quinn talked about almost that exact thing about with Tom Brady and the challenges of defending a Tom Brady. Give me a second here. I'm going to pull this up. It's not going to be Dan Quinn yet.
They're a really talented defense.
But here we go. Here's Dan Quinn on Tom Brady.
Dan Todd Archer with ESPN. How do you deal with a guy like Brady who's played forever, seen everything? You played against him twice the last 2 years, so he knows a little bit about you guys as well.
Yeah.
How do you deal with a guy like that?
I think it's a good point to say that this is a quarterback who's just so mentally quick and has seen so many things to deliver the ball to the right spot at the right person to go. And so he's got such a, arsenal of guys to use. So we'll have to be at our best. It's going to take our A game, and I'm certainly counting on us delivering on that. But you're right, in terms of looks and moments to go, we'll certainly try to make some decisions post-snap as opposed to pre-snap, because I just don't know if there's anybody that's ever done it better in terms of identifying where to go with the ball against the coverage. And I think the physical skill set's one thing, but when you add the mental component to that, that's what makes the really elite competitors.
I think he said something in there that was very key. Yeah, it'll go away.
Okay.
It did take time. He talked about post-snap disguising with Tom Brady as opposed to pre-snap. And in week 1, they did that a few times. Kurt Warner did a fantastic breakdown. But the play that I was thinking about prior to that breakdown was when Donovan Wilson got an interception, and it was post-snap disguise. It was, hey, is he blitzing? He pulls back. Tom Brady loves to get the ball out fast. 2.1 seconds is how fast he got the ball out, which is absurd, by the way. That was a career high of any game. And Donald got the interception by post-snap confusion. You've been in the room, with Tom Brady looking at film and just kind of being that savant that he is. Is that the right way to approach this thing here? And which I agree with Dan Quinn. I don't know that you can just line out here in one particular or two particular formations all game, because even if you get him, right, he'll be like, oh, that's what y'all doing? All right, cool, I'm going to adjust. But kind of take us into Tom's head when he's in that film room when you were with the Patriots.
Yeah, one thing that Tom always wants to do is he wants to find the advantage. He wants to find the mismatch. He wants to find, where can I go with the football right now to be successful? He's all about profit. He doesn't whether care about profit comes from 4 yards, profit comes from 14 yards, or 44 yards. He understands that through the course of the game, if I get enough of these 4-yard runs, these 4 or 5 yard passes, they're going to miss a tackle, they're going to miss an assignment, and it's going to be critical and key that if I get it now, that I'll be able to get it in the third quarter or the fourth quarter. So for him, he's always looking at the situation of, where do I have an advantage? Where can I attack the weakness in a defense? And the chess match that Tom Brady, you go back to the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady days against guys like Bob Sanders or guys like Ray Lewis, and I always talked about, man, I would have to check his check, and he would check my check, and I would have to check again. It was always playing that cat and mouse game, because he's going to find the advantage.
Yeah.
Now, after the ball is thrown, what happens then is the guy dropping it. Do you get there? Whatever it is, that takes care of itself. But he's, for the most part, is going to try to put the ball in the best situation, whether it's complete or not complete. And he's banking on you not being able to consistently stop it. You may get it once,
Right.
but he's saying, all right, you got it in the first quarter. Would you get it in the second? Would you get it in the third? Would you get it in the fourth when the game absolutely matters? And by the time he gets to the fourth quarter, he's now taken all that information, and he says, all right, cool, we're down 3. I remember in the first quarter when I called this play, I had profit there. I remember in the second quarter when I called this play that I had profit there. Bing, 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 bing. Field goal, the game's over. That's how he's been able to be so successful, because he's always looking for profit. And the thing about Tom Brady, while he will feature his guys, right, Godwin's or Evans, he's an equal opportunity employer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what number you have on. And they expect that. If you're on the playing field, if you're in the huddle, wherever you're supposed to be, he expects you to be there. And if you're in the spot where the profit is supposed to be gained, that's where the ball is going.
Yeah.
And what eventually happens is, now they'll configure it to go, all right, what formation gives us that profitable look now with Mike Evans? What formation gives us that profitable look now with Chris Godwin or Julio Jones or whoever it may be? But early on, it's about getting the ball to the profitable situations. And so the post-snap adjustment will definitely confuse him, because he's calculated, and when the ball is snapped, he's going there right now, 2.1 seconds. He's not spending a lot of time on surveying the land, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to 1. No, it's 1, 2, ball's out.
And if you let him survey the land, that means your rush is not getting home. And so
that's a whole different other world.
That's a whole different world. And that's why you're going to need the Xavier Rhodes of the world, Diggs, the linebacker. The coverage has to be on its game today. But you know who else has to be on their game today?
What a rush. The pass rush.
The
Not
pass
Cooper
rush and the Lion. Micah Parsons has been telling, the media, hey, I'm in playoff mode. Mike is youthful. I love his youthful ignorance. I do.
He just says whatever he wants.
I love it. But because Micah loves this game.
Yes.
He's going to be one of those guys, I think, when his career is over, that everyone will say the same thing. Man, I've never seen anybody that loved the game as much as Micah Parsons. And he loves these moments. He loves these big moments. And last year, I think it's in Micah's head that he knows that he went into that game against San Francisco a little bit behind because he had, COVID the week before. Micah said, I'm in my second wind. I have my second wind now. I've had my body's been beaten and worn and hit the wall, what have you, of being a defensive end. But I feel as good as I've felt all season, and it's time for me to take it up. And he's going to be one of those players where it doesn't matter who else plays bad around. That man is going to put it all out there. And I think we're going to need to see another performance like we saw in week 1 with Micah Parsons. Am I saying 2 sacks? Yeah, I am. I think Micah Parsons is going to have to get you 2 to 3 sacks or 2 to 3 to 4 quarterback hits. He's going to have a moment in this game where he takes it over defensively. Because if he doesn't, we've seen it too many times in the playoffs. Tom is going to have a moment. There's going to be a moment where Tom takes over. I need Micah to match that energy today.
No, you're absolutely right. And if there's one person I believe on this football team, and I mean from the entire roster that is built for moments like this, it's number 11.
Yes.
He's built for these moments. He understands the magnitude of these moments. He's one of those guys where he's going to say wild and crazy things, but he's still level-headed in his approach, right? I've been around some guys who get so high that they can't actually perform because they're just out of their mind and they lose focus. Mike is one of these guys who's going to be revved up and ready to go, but he's also going to be laser focused. And that's a special thing. We had a conversation about guys being special, right? Micah's a special dude, and it's in these moments where you need that specialness to come out. You need Michael to be a lion, to have those game-changing plays, because that's what's going to be able to turn the tide, to give you the advantage in this. When we watch this run game and this pass game suffer, not because those other guys aren't good players, but those other guys were able to make splash plays. They were able to be dominant because of the work that Micah Parsons put in. When you have to slide an entire line, right? When you have to slide an entire line to cover Micah, then you leave one-on-one coverage on the back end. When you have to take up a tight end or a running back on a chip block, now that gives someone else an opportunity for a one-on-one matchup. So you need those other guys to truly step up and be in their bag, but it all starts and ends with number 11 being in his biggest Louis Vuitton bag so that they can go out there and be special all around him.
So one last question for you here, or defensively. We know Micah Parsons needs to be in his bag, and we assume he will be. Who, and I want to know if we're on the same page with this one, either a player or a position, but it'd be nice to be a player. Who needs to be in their bag as well in this game? Who is the second most important player or most important position defensively in this game to stop Tom Brady and this Bucs offense for you?
Donovan Wilson.
Ooh, that's different. Okay, why Dono?
I think what Donovan brings underneath is that ability to get to the quarterback. But if he's going to be, I just see a lot of these underneath routes coming. I just see a lot of them. You got to make them pay. You got to make them pay. So for me, it's going to be Donovan Wilson has to have one of those games when you look up and he has a sack and 7 tackles and 2 pass breakups.
That's a good one, actually.
Like, I think he's going to be the one because as Tom is looking around, he's going to have to be the one that's playing in that box, that kind of, Jack Backer type situation. He's going to have to be able to step up in the run game. He's going to have to be a good blitzer, time it up correctly. He's also going to have to be a guy that disguises when they do things late and then be able to make the plays when they come his way.
That's a good one. I'm looking in the chat here. I see somebody said J-Rock, which is J-Ron Curse, Diggs, DT, and that's my answer. I'm going to go with Osa Odigizua as a player. But Donald's great because you're right. If they utilize him in the blitz, they're going to throw a lot of things underneath. You don't really see Donald doing roof stuff. No. That'll be Malik Hooker. So right. Donald could be a playmaker underneath. But here's why I'm going to go with Osa, because Osa's Osa's had quietly, I think, a really solid year. He just isn't asked to do a lot of the 3-tech stuff on a down and down out basis that normal 3-techs his size are asked to do. He's more so asked to be kind of the demolition man in these stunts, right? Hey, man, just free up Micah and D-Law, free up Sam Williams, free up a blitzer, what have you, and then occasionally get to the quarterback. I think today he's going to have to get to the quarterback more than occasionally. He's going to have to pressure Tom Brady, and it's a testament as old as time. What is the one thing that Tom Brady has struggled with throughout his career against all these teams he's lost to?
Pressure up the middle.
Pressure up the middle. And you can say that about every quarterback. But Tom Brady specifically, right. He's not a guy that's going to run.
Even in his younger days.
Yes.
When he had youthfulness.
Even when he ran a 5'6".
Yeah.
Now he's running 6'1". But seriously, Tom Brady, he dealt with pressure on the outside. Yep. Just step up, boom. He's a master at pocket awareness, right? I don't care how much pocket awareness you got. You can't stop what's coming in your face. Oh, pause. Ooh. You can't stop.
Hey, yo. Luke Skywalker for you right there, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, man.
Hey, yo, you laughed at that too, huh? Hey, yo, you caught that too, didn't you? She caught it. Hey,
you know what? I done destroyed the segment now, man.
Yep.
Let's get to the goddamn on Underdog Fantasy Sports. Listen, I got a $5, man. That one, as soon as that came out.
Yeah, you knew it. You knew exactly what it was as soon as it jumped off your lips.
Hey, yo. This would be a good time to segue into the third block of the show. We got to get up. I got about 10, 15 more minutes. Underdog Fantasy Sports. I'm sorry, Underdog. This is the way it had to happen, man. If your fantasy season is over, which it is, you still can make some money on Underdog Fantasy, y'all. Use the promo code ATOZ. They will match your deposit up to $100, and you can play the Pick'em game. It's easy. You got to pick at least one player from each team, and you can win cold hard cash that day. And today is Super Wild Card Weekend, so I decided to get a little bit crazy, right?
You did get wild.
I got a little wild. I got a little crazy here, man. I won a $5, okay? So let's go ahead and go down this list before we get on up out of here, man. Tony Pollard, higher or lower? 73.5 rushing plus receiving yards.
Higher. Yeah. I think Tony Pollard, again, like I said, CeeDee Lamb should have at least 12 targets and at least 9 or 10 catches. If Tony Pollard isn't your featured back in this game, you've done yourself and your offense and your team absolute disservice. Yeah. Get him out in open space, get him off the edges, allow him to run, use his speed. His timing is impeccable in those zone runs. Allow him to do that, because with Levante David and Devin White, if you're lollygagging on those zone runs, it's over for you. Those guys are coming. So Tony Pollard's a guy who can stretch it, and then boom, find that hole, get through it, get up the field. So I think that's going to be something that they have to utilize early and often in this football game. So it's over for me for Tony Pollard.
Yeah, that's 40 and 35. Like, come on, he needs to be featured. We talked about him getting at least 15 to 20 touches in this game. If he gets 15 to 20 touches, easy over here or higher here. So take that if you are playing Underdog Fantasy. T.Y. Hilton, higher or lower, 21.5 receiving yards.
Higher.
Yes.
I posed a question maybe a week or two ago, and I was saying, are we to the point now where T.Y. Hilton should be getting those number 2 type reps in front of Michael Gallup and company? I think the consensus now says yes. So I hope that they go out today with T.Y. Hilton. And a lot of times on third down, allow him to be converted on third downs, 8 yards here, 8 yards there, convert those third downs so that, you only need, 21, you need three of those, 3 8-yard passes, right? That's 21 plus yards. He'll get a 9-yard gainer in there somewhere. So for me, that's easily said and done for T.Y. Hilton.
I think he gets featured today. I just got this feeling that T.Y. Hilton, C.D. Lamb are going to be, T.Y. Hilton could potentially be an X factor in this game. So 21 yards, that's one catch.
Yeah.
Catch and run, right? I mean, this one here is, if you want to use the insurance, you can use the insurance. I have Jake Ferguson, higher or lower, 2.5 receiving. I thought it was catches. No, wait a minute. Higher or lower, 2.5 receiving yards. Come on, that's easier now.
Yeah,
I thought it was catches.
Hey, tight end screen of Jake Ferguson.
It's
Done
one
deal.
catch.
Let's go.
Come
Higher.
on, man, that's money. I'm trying to win y'all money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Higher, take it. 2.5 receiving yards. Come on, that's a catch. Rashad White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving to the other side. Higher or lower, 54.5 receiving and rushing yards. He's their backup guy.
I think higher on this as well.
Ooh.
I do. I think you're going to see guys like him used in the screen game.
They will.
They're going to use him in the screen game. They're going to use him on quick passes because that's an extension to their running game. Tom Brady has understand that, hey, we may not have what we need to have up front to be able to just dominate a defensive line. So I now have to use these guys in different formations. And I think when you talk about White getting the ball out to him in bubble screens, middle screens, whatever you got to do to get the ball in space, definitely for me over 55 yards.
I heard a stat the other day between Rashad White and Leonard Fournette. They lapped the Cowboys running backs in receptions. You don't think about Leonard Fournette being a receiving guy. But
Leonard Fournette has 83 targets, 73 catches.
That's crazy.
Leonard, I told you, they decided we ain't going to run the ball up the middle anymore.
That's our running game.
We're going to just extend the handoff to passes to these guys. So, yeah.
I think Kellen should take that and use it when you can't run, right? Like, use that as an extension. But that's a whole nother show, Jeff.
Offensive coordinator, I'm not saying it's an easy job, but stealing is easy.
It is easy.
All you got to do is pop in the film and go, I like that play. Steal it.
It's mine.
I like that play. There's enough. You could have formulated an entire playbook just off the plays that you saw run this weekend.
Facts.
Just steal.
Always.
Stealing is good in the National Football League.
I know you were watching this weekend's games like, look at that over route. Look at that mesh route. Look at that.
That was the theme of the weekend.
Yeah.
Mesh routes, over routes, shallow crosses. People were eating on those all day long.
Facts.
But on 3rd and 3, we want to go for a 40-yard bomb. But, sorry, go ahead.
4 verts.
Yeah.
And this is the big one right here. Mike Evans, higher or lower, 65.5 receiving yards. I know. That's the, again, if you want to use your insurance, that might be one.
That's a tough one.
I went lower. I think that Diggs is going to actually follow him.
That was my initial thought, so I'm going with my heart, and I'm going to say lower because of that very factor.
Yeah.
And even coming into this game, I didn't think Mike Evans was going to be the X factor. I picked someone else as an X factor for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I'm going to go lower on that one as well.
Who'd you pick as your X factor, Jesse?
Julio Jones.
Oh, he had a big play against the Cowboys in Week 1.
Julio Jones made some big plays. He had some big reverses. I just think they're going to use Julio Jones and say, okay, Deron Bland, okay, whoever you guys are outside.
Rose, yeah.
Because here's the thing. Do I think Julio Jones is a dominant receiver anymore? No.
Nah.
But do I think Julio Jones can sauce you at the line of scrimmage once in a while? Yes, I do. Do I think Julio Jones at times can still turn it to 5th gear and run past you? Yes, I do. Do I think Julio Jones still has absolutely really good hands? Yes, I do. So for me, that's when I go back to Tom Brady setting up the matchups to find out where the profit is at. And I think there's going to be about 2 or 3 plays that involve Julio Jones that has him catching the ball maybe in the middle of the field, maybe down the field, maybe something where he makes a guy miss and he gets the yardage. I'm not saying he's going to take over a game, but he's going to have some critical plays in this ball game.
And Julio, that's a good one, Julio Jones. Chris Godwin is another one because Chris Godwin has some productive plays against the Cowboys in Week 1. Now Deron Bland wasn't the cornerback, right? In the slot, it was Jay Lou, and that's a mismatch.
But he didn't play that whole game. He left that game.
Yeah, but before he left though,
Yeah.
he made some, and it was really quick screens. But that's how they use Chris Godwin. He's a big slot. Deron Bland's going to be, I think, huge in this game, getting him back. Who, by the way, he did practice, so he is good to go. All right, we're going to do something different, though, here. Instead of standard predictions, I want to know the Cowboys win if situation, the Cowboys lose if situation. So start off with the Cowboys win if.
The Cowboys win if, and maybe this is low-hanging fruit, but Dak has to have.
I don't think so. I think that's
I mean,
fair.
Dak has to have I am him game. And I am him doesn't have to be 350 yards, 4 touchdowns. I am him can be I control the game, I control the tempo, I don't turn the ball over, I'm efficient in what I do, I make the right calls at the right time and get the ball to the right people when they're supposed to happen. That's the I am him game he has to have. He has to be in complete control of this football game. We can't have the Dak game where he's scratching his head and we're saying, what are you doing? Why are you throwing it there? What's happening?
Yeah, we can't have miscommunication.
We can't have that. Dak has to. NFL quarterbacks are built in the regular season. They're made in the playoffs. If you want your name to be in the conversation of the elites, of the greats, this is where it happens.
Facts.
So going up against Tom Brady in a situation on the road where you haven't won since a lot of, most of these cats on the roster wasn't even born, against one of your 2 boogeymans, this is the moment to have a I am him moment. And take the game over in situations where you need to insert your dominance.
I ditto everything you just said, and I'll just extend on that. I think they win if they're clean. And clean can be, no turnovers from the quarterback. Clean can be no penalties, no shooting yourself in the foot, no breakdowns in coverage. They just have to play clean ball. When the Cowboys have played clean ball this year, clean enough ball, right? There's going to be adversity in the game. They've beaten teams that have been better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? So play clean ball, and I think they can win this game. But Cowboys lose if they literally do the exact opposite of that. I think if they lose a turnover battle, not too many teams are going to lose a turnover battle on the road and win the football game. Right. This cannot be a game right here that they lose a turnover battle. And that could be by 1. I don't care. If your defense can't get a turnover against the Tampa Bay Bucs and you give 1 up, that could be all the difference in this game. So I think that's how the Cowboys lose. Yeah,
Cowboys lose if they lose the trenches. Offensively and defensively. The Cowboys can't control the line of scrimmage. If having Big Hankins come back, again, Leonard Fournette rushed for 127 yards the first game of the season. They didn't have Big Hankins in there, and he didn't sniff. And when I say he didn't sniff, there's also a -3 game in there that he rushed. He didn't sniff 100 yards for the rest of the year. Did not get close to it for the rest of the year. So you got to be able to stop the run first because they're going to try to come out and run the football. Yeah. They want to do that. They have this Lombardi Lenny, playoff Lenny. He wants to run the football. He got the hoodie on.
I thought that was interesting.
Right? He got the hoodie on. So if they can't control the line of scrimmage up front offensively, either giving Dak Prescott a clean pocket, giving Dak Prescott an opportunity, giving Tony Pollard room and holes to run through, that's going to be vital for me. So it's going to be the trenches. If they lose this game, we're going to look back and go, boy, was that offensive line dominated up front? Boy, did that defensive line get taken out back and got whooped and allowed them to do what they want up front. So it's going to be the trenches for me if the Cowboys lose this game.
Hey, man, we're about 5 minutes away from kickoff, and at the top of this thing, I said it's all laid out for you, right? Right there. You got a chance to do something special this season and starting here in Tampa Bay. And for like the last month of the season, I talk about the cream rising to the top. I think you're about to face the guy who's been at the top. He's risen to the top a long time ago in Tom Brady, right?
I mean, you look at it, Tom Brady, he has 35 career playoff wins. Dak Prescott has 1. The Cowboys as a franchise has 35. So think about that. One man alone has 35 total playoff wins. You as an organization, as a franchise, has 35 total. So talk about the cream rising to the top. It's here.
He's here. Right.
It's here.
And so many times this season we say this type of game or playing this quarterback or this team or whatever can do something for you. I truly do believe beating this man on the road, 2 things you haven't done in forever. We've been saying it for 3 weeks. We know they're going to play Tampa at some point. 0-7 against Tom Brady. They need to hear that. Haven't won a playoff game since 92 on the road. They need to hear that, Jesse. They need to play with that type of mentality, that anger, that pistivity is what I'm going to call it, right? They need to be pissed off when they're playing against this dude. Because in order to, and listen, if y'all know this saying, sing it with me if you're from church and I'm talking about. To be the man, you've got to beat the man. Yep. Let me get 2 claps in the Ric Flair. Woo! Seriously. They got to go out there and beat Tom Brady. If they do that, I think they can carry that momentum to somewhere where they haven't been in a very, very long time, but it starts night.
Listen, brother, there's nothing more that we can put on this cake. This cake has been 3-layered. It's been tiered up. The icing is on it. Everything is set. We talked about it many a time before. You said the platter. The food is there. Don't play with your meal.
With it, man.
Don't play with your meal. But this game, to me, will not be given to the Cowboys. You're going to have to go and take it. That is going to be the thing. Are you man enough? Are you smart enough? Are you talented enough? Are you willing? Their theme has been resilience.
Yeah.
Are you resilient enough to go out there and be one possession better than Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I don't know, but we're getting ready to find out.
We're getting ready to find out. Kickoff here in a few minutes, Cowboys Nation. We appreciate y'all for joining us on Game Day Live pregame show presented by Underdog Fantasy. Make sure y'all come back. Join us at the halftime show. We'll see how the energy is. But it ain't about halftime, because it ain't about how you start. It's about how you finish, although the start is going to matter. But I'm telling you right now, if this is a dub, I might not be here. Vach might have to take over because they might haul me out of here in some handcuffs because I'm going to be hyped. All right, I'm going to be hyped. But make sure y'all come back at halftime and join us for the halftime show. It'll be a fun one, man. For Jesse, Holley, Skywalker Steel, kickoff is here. We'll see y'all in a bit. Peace.